These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.com.
You're not a kid, Kirk Cousins. You make $30 million, $35 million a year. I shouldn't have to tell you on 4th and 8 to throw the ball past the sticks. Whether you throw, I want you to throw the ball. I don't give a damn if Justin Jefferson is double covered. Throw it to him. But if you don't throw it to him, if he's triple covered, throw it beyond the sticks. You can't throw the ball 3 yards and the DB is standing on top of the Hawkinson. So what did he expect Hawkinson to do?
I don't know.
Turn into Gronk?
Have those guys kissed and made up now? Wasn't Shannon Sharp about ready to bail off that show with old Skip, controversial Skip?
Yeah, I thought so. Maybe they work things out.
The one human being that can bring those two together is Kirk Cousins. We found the good.
God, yeah. Those guys were about to fight physically on national TV, and now they're like, oh, we're fine because we both have common ground. We hate Kirk Cousins' decision on 4th and 8.
Skip didn't even talk. He just sighed.
Much like a lot of us, actually, when that game ended. Not just because of the 4th and 8 play, but all sorts of reasons, which is a good segue into the pecking order today on Mackey and Judd. We love to rank things on this show. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but Judd has brought Kwesi's to-do list. He has snuck into the Twin Cities Orthopedic Performance Center. He took a screenshot of Kwesi's desk. Judd posed as a janitor.
Yep.
Just mopping the floors here. Yep. Don't mind me. Can I empty the wastebasket?
I was a
Snap a photo of his to-do list.
Engineer, to use the big title. I was the sanitational engineer, and Kwesi's like, "Oh man, what's going on? Nothing.
Did you just take a picture of my desk? Nope. Just doing some dusting.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. Just trying to keep the place clean.
In pecking order form here, Judd is going to rank Kwesi's to-do list starting now through the NFL draft. It's like an off-season to-do list.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the 5 things that need immediate attention and subsequent decisions.
Okay.
All right.
Let's get it here. Let's get it.
All right. We will start at number 5. This one is very simple, but it's something that I would expect that by the time some folks are watching this episode of MNJ will have been addressed. And that is the beginning of finding a replacement for defensive coordinator Ed Donatel, which will fall on Kwesi and O'Connell. But that's just an immediate one. That is, at some point in time, I'm guessing someone like our friend Tom Pelissero is going to tweet out Ed Donatel has stepped down or been relieved of his duties by the Vikings. Phil, you threw out a list of, I believe, 11 candidates for the position on Purple Daily yesterday. One of them, by the way, Jim Schwartz, is headed to Cleveland.
Take him off the board.
So mark him off. But that is going to be, I would think that they discussed that yesterday. So
yesterday was probably in some internal meetings of what are the things that have to happen now this week. And then would today be the day that they would then talk to guys like Donatel?
Yeah.
If that's going to happen? Because tomorrow's a press conference, so they
I've not seen that yet, but I've heard that tomorrow is going to be a Kwesi and O'Connell press conference. So yeah, I would imagine that Ed probably knew or knows it's coming. It's probably not breaking news to Ed, but I would think that by tomorrow we'll officially find out the Vikings are looking for a defensive coordinator.
And by the way, Brandon Staley's safe with the Chargers. They fired their OC today. They fired their quarterbacks coach, but apparently Brandon Staley will remain from Tom Pelissero, I believe. So they made some changes.
Interesting.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You gag away a 27-point lead and you blame everybody but the coach? I guess it's cheaper. Don't have to pay him.
Dude, Justin Herbert, that's a tough situation for him. So, so now it's he's going to bring new offensive court, maybe a new system. What a waste of young talent in Los Angeles. I'll cross those names off the list, though.
And that contract, too. Okay. So that was number 5. Number 4 gets a little bit more in-depth, and the last 4 are far more complicated than just telling Easy Ed that you're fired. Number 4, you have to start dealing with a list of unrestricted free agents on your own team. I'm going to give you the most important ones. Patrick Peterson, Garrett Bradbury, Greg Joseph, Declan's guy. Are you going to bring the kicker back? Shandon Sullivan, Irv Smith, who I think is an easy goodbye, but he was a high draft pick by Rick Spielman, Alexander Madison. Now, the second tier of that list includes the backup quarterback Nick Mullins, Jonathan Bullard, Austin Schlottman, the Pro Bowl long snapper, and Andrew DiPaolo, Oli Udo, Chris Boyd, who was, I thought, really good on special teams to his credit, and BC Johnson, who I think is an easy goodbye. But there's a lot of names there, and as we broke down before we did the Vikings the favor of doing the mathematical work for them, there's a lot of names there, and you are right now way over the salary cap. So
yeah, we actually did a full. We found, so the Vikings are $8 million over the cap right now. We got them to $44 million in cap space on Purple Daily today. So go check that out. But it doesn't include any of these guys because they're all free agents. So right. Whatever. So look at those guys right there. And Duke Shelley, by the way, is a free agent.
Yep.
So
yep. I miss Duke Shelley.
Duke Shelley. You just listed off the 3 starting cornerbacks in nickel for the Vikings the last month of the season, all unrestricted free agents.
Yep.
All internal unrestricted free agents. Roll up your sleeves, baby. Lot of work to be done here in the next few weeks.
Quick question. What type of priority are you guys putting on signing Bradbury? Because the Spotrac projection is he's going to get paid pretty dang well.
Yeah, well, he's, center. There's not a lot of centers out there, right? But how much do you trust? There's 2 things that would really concern me going forward with him. Number one is he had 1 good season out of 4.
Yeah.
So how reliable is his performance? And 2, his health. A back injury for a center. It derailed John Sullivan's career toward the end.
Mm-hmm.
Centers with back problems and quarterbacks who can't deal with the internal pressure because they're not mobile enough. That's a bad combination. So I would be very careful about buying into the good stuff that we saw from Bradbury. I don't know. That's a tough. I have to think more about what to do there and see what the other options are.
Dex, are you in or out on trying to keep?
About a 5 out of 10 on the importance scale of bringing back Garrett Bradbury. 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. All right. That's the 4th thing. Number 3. And number 3 is going to take some very difficult introspection on the part of Kwesi and his football staff, including former Colts GM Ryan Grigson. Sort out what you might have from the 2022 draft and almost certainly add to a 2023 draft class that right now, because of moves, only includes a 1st, 3rd, 4th from Detroit and 5th round pick. So you've got, just to put that into context, because of course Spielman at the end was drafting 90 guys. The Vikings have never had as few, or have not had fewer than 5 picks in a draft since 2000. Yeah. That was back-to-back in 2008 and 9. Since 2000, they have never had a 4-person draft class. And so for a 4-person draft class, look, I like not having 15 picks. 4 seems light. And then on the flip side of that, what do you have in Lewis Cine? Andrew Booth? Is Brian Asamoah a starter? Ed Ingram is going to have to improve. Like, if you're not convinced that he's going to make significant strides, he had a really up and down and a lot of down season. So sorting through your 2022 draft class and probably trying to add to the 23 is probably pretty imperative.
Yeah, because you don't know. Lewis Cine coming off the injury, he got beat out in training camp as it was. You don't know. Andrew Booth Jr., talented guy, but it would be nice if you could just rely on, all right, well, we're definitely, from a cap standpoint, we're going to lose these players because we can't afford to bring them back. But at least we know that Lewis Cine, Andrew Booth, Caleb Evans, you're all just kind of cross, and there's going to have to be some crossing of the fingers at some of these positions. Brian Asamoah is likely to be a starting inside linebacker for you next year in a 3-4, or if it's a 4-3, then he'll be a starting linebacker somewhere, right?
Hopefully.
And you saw some of him, you saw the speed, you saw a couple plays, but I don't know that we've seen enough from him to say, yep, that's going to be a really good starting caliber linebacker. So you're going to have to close your eyes and jump on some of these young players because you can't fill all these positions with your limited cap space and with your limited draft picks.
And this is where, if the 2022 draft class does not come through, it's a bust. So, like, I'm not Right now, I don't know. Like, I think it's unfair to say, well, the draft class sucks because guys can develop. It doesn't look great at the top. But that being said, here's my biggest thing. Because Scene came out of his cast pretty quickly. And, like, I think he's okay, which is miraculous because his leg looked like it was mangled.
Yeah.
But if Lewis Scene, if he is indeed okay, is not starting in place of Bynum on opening day, that's a problem.
Yeah.
First round pick, safety, which is not exactly a position that's impossible to play. First round pick going into year 2. And I didn't like the fact that he was never even allowed to compete for the starting job. So like his development clearly was not where they thought. If he is full go at the start of training camp and does not beat out Bynum, who I think was just okay. Like he wasn't a Pro Bowl player. That's a problem.
Bynum, I think, is a rotational guy for you the next couple of years. You know, 4th round draft pick, wasn't super highly touted. Did pretty well in limited snaps in his rookie season. Yep. But I'm with you. I think if you can't beat him out, there's a problem in year 2, physically or otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, so that's number 3 on the Kwesi to-do list in the next few weeks and months. Number 2 is going to get done. It's going to be probably a massive investment. It's worth it. Get Jefferson's contract extension done. And you know what? Just get it done. Let's not quibble, okay? You're going to pay the man, and you should. But he signed through 2024, which means the extension is going to kick in 2025. And just to begin the negotiations for when Justin's agent sits down, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Tyreek Hill has an AAV of $30 million per season. That's tops in the league. Devontae Adams in Las Vegas is at 28 mil, okay? Now, we're talking about an extension that's going to kick in 2025. So they're going to want to far exceed that, reset the market, and have him for a period of time be the highest paid receiver in the league with a new contract.
Receiver contracts are
difficult.
Eclipsing a lot of starting quarterback contracts now.
That's why I said this is difficult, because this affects the quarterback.
And it's the type of thing, you know, there's a whole conversation about just like value and how the Vikings are kind of lacking value up and down their roster based on the caliber of player and the money that they make. This is one where I would overpay, so to speak, because I think there's like 5 positions where if I have to overpay a little for an elite edge rusher, an elite receiver, there's like 5 quarterbacks that I would swallow hard and say, it's not ideal to be paying a quarterback this much money, but if the contract is long term, you can kind of play the shell game from year to year with the cap hits, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen.
Yep.
I wouldn't blink, man. I would not blink. I'm signing Justin Jefferson, 100%.
Oh, I agree completely. I think you have to, right?
You have to.
Now, there's some buzz that, and this is an interesting conundrum here. Let's say the Vikings decide at some point in the next year or two, Kirk's 35. We got to, I'm not saying we're going to be a 2-win team, but got to take a step back here and go searching for a quarterback, and the offense just might not be high octane. How patient would he be? Now I think he's gonna sign a contract no matter what.
I don't think it's a problem.
But would he at some point, even after he signs, would he do the Stephon Diggs thing and be like, "I'm out of here, guys. I'm literally gonna skip practice and get fined $200,000 mid-season to show you how pissed off I am about this whole thing."
If he did, you can trade him. So like you're not stuck. Yeah. I'd prefer not to be.
They just need to be mindful, much like the Timberwolves and Anthony Edwards. Just do whatever it takes to build Anthony Edwards, build around Anthony. It might sound crazy to build around a wide receiver, but I think you're building around offensive firepower, and he is the central figure of that for the Vikings the next 5 years.
All right, which leads us, in fact, 2-1 in this case. They fit like a glove. They dovetail perfectly together because the number one thing is exactly that. This is the spring and summer where you have to sit down with your most important football administrative people and Kevin O'Connell and begin to solidify a quarterback plan. Jefferson's going to get paid. Phil, you're only right that it sounds stupid if you don't have a quarterback that can get him the ball, right? Next season, as of right now, is the last year of Kirk's contract. As we talked about on Purple Daily today, you can't extend him beyond 24 right now because the Jefferson deal is going to kick in. And if you have those two contracts butting heads, you can't pay anybody else. Cousins will be 35 in August. That's the other thing. He's aging. And you know, at some point in time, most people get to a point where they're done playing, aside from Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Among the top rated QBs in the 2024 draft class, because my God, there's already lists out. It's outstanding. The number one from Southern Cal, Caleb Williams. The second one right now is Drake May, who I think is at North Carolina. But anyway, the point is, right now, because you're going to sign Jefferson, you have to start having a coherent plan what you're going to do at quarterback.
Well, you have almost no shot at Caleb Williams in 2024, right?
Yep, I'm just throwing names out.
100% the number one overall pick.
Yep.
And even if the Vikings, let's say the Vikings, we're going to run it back. We're going to restructure some veterans and just run it back, which I don't think that's what they're going to do. But I didn't think they would do it last year. So what the hell do we know? But even the worst case scenario for this team probably isn't the worst team in the NFL bad, right?
Yep. Right.
So I have some questions about this here in a second, but you're saying Ed Donatel, figure out the defensive coordinator situation.
Yep.
Your undrafted unrestricted free agents internally. What do you have from last year's draft? What are you going to do with your 4 picks this year? A JJ contract extension, and map out your quarterback plan of the future. Those are the 5 things. As you took a snapshot of Kwesi's desk.
Yep. Well, while dusting, I had my little duster. I was like, excuse me, Mr. Adolfo, can you move your phone just a little bit? Thank you.
The volume's on your phone. Ka-ching, ka-ching. You can hear it. And there would be a 6th thing on here, but we already did a full deep dive into how to create cap space by slicing and dicing the roster, which you can find over on Purple Daily. And speaking of slicing and dicing, gentlemen, I recently discovered an amazing new service called Vivrant, online knife sharpening. So I mailed my kitchen knives in. They sharpened these things professionally and mailed them back to me all just within a few days. The packaging is very easy. You're not just throwing the knives in a bag, look, oh, mailman, look out. No, it's all very much, they send you a kit. Look out. That's not how it works. My wife and I are making it a big goal of ours here, late 2022, early 2023, to just get better at cooking our own meals, not just going out to eat all the time, trying new recipes, eating healthier, being adults, I guess, if you will. And for us, the freshly sharpened knives help us enjoy our time. We have fun in the kitchen doing this stuff. So if you've never had your knives sharpened before, and most people haven't, it's a game-changing experience. Vivrant makes this process very, very easy. They even send replacement knives for the few days that your knives are on their little vacation getting sharpened. Go to Vivrant.com. That's Vivront.com. Vivrant.com. The first 100 SKOR listeners to use the promo code SKOR, SKOR, will receive a free vegetable peeler as well with your order. So check them out. Kind of a game-changing experience for the Macadax over here.
Replacement knives, huh?
Yeah, it's great. So
that's
it's like
awesome. That's actually really cool.
It's like your knives have gone on strike. We will no longer operate
until
vacation. We get sharpened, and they send you the replacement players.
They're like lounging around the pool. Hey, what's going on?
My butcher knife has little sunglasses on.
It's like it's got some
massaged,
some suntan lotion on. Yeah, put some more of that.
So Vivrant, Vivront.com. Check them out. What do you think? I know you just threw out like Caleb Williams, for instance, and I'm going to just blow a whistle on that and say they're not in a position to.
Yeah. Well,
they're kind of where the Chiefs were when they needed to move up 15 spots to get Patrick Mahomes, right? They already had aging Alex Smith.
Right.
What is a realistic plan for the future of quarterback? Like Kirk's going to be the quarterback in 2023. He's under contract, full no trade clause. He was very good this season.
Yep.
So you've got this luxury of, okay, you at least know you're going to be competitive at that position this year. Do you find someone, like, do you draft a quarterback in the first round if it works out this year?
I don't think they draft one in the first round. It's part of why I'd like to see them get a few more picks, though, because I do think that you could definitely draft one. And what's funny is, the fly in the ointment once again, because it seems to happen just often enough to tease you. Brock Purdy, who just free fell through the entire draft and now looks pretty good. And so, like, the question is, can you identify a guy who you think you're not sure, but you're like, he looks pretty good and he's falling? But I mean, I think we could do a whole episode 2 on creative ways to go about this too. For instance, if Brock Purdy is the guy, what's up with Trey Lance? And do you like Trey Lance? I've heard rumblings. To get Trey Lance? Yeah. I've heard some rumblings that there were at least some inquiries from the Vikings side about Trey Lance.
Whoa.
And so now this is way back. This is months ago. This is not recently. Mm-hmm. They clearly, and this is the responsible thing, they clearly explored their options last spring.
Yes.
So like, they talked about trading Kirk. They took calls on Kirk. I think they inquired about guys. I think they also, at the end of the day, came to decide, and rightfully so, until 4th and 8 on Sunday, it looked smart that Kirk was going to be their guy. But it's up to you to do your due diligence on everyone. And I think the interesting thing with Trey Lance is, because he certainly has the athletic ability to be good, could you fix the mechanics enough? Because, the one thing with him, Phil, is at the rate we're going right now, I don't think his second contract's going to break the bank because he's not playing.
That's my question. So this will be the 3rd year, and you don't even really know what he is yet, because he's correct. He barely played in college. Like, he's this dude's barely played any football since high school. That's the crazy thing.
I know.
So that worries me, just the general lack of playing football and reading defenses and things.
Agreed.
He's 6'4", 230 pound, just physical monster with a big arm. So I see the upside. My question would be, okay, he's going into the 3rd year of his contract. He's almost certainly not going to play much if he stays with the Niners. If the Vikings, because right now, like, Brock Purdy's your starting quarterback next year for the Niners. He might compete with Trey Lance in camp, but like,
I would think so. Yeah.
Right? The way that they've been playing. Yep. So let's say you swing a trade for Trey Lance, looking out for the future of your franchise. Well, he's not playing for the Vikings in 2023 unless Kirk gets hurt, which is fine. Like, he would just sit behind Kirk Cousins and learn from Kevin O'Connell, and you'd have a legitimate development guy. He's 23 years old. But wouldn't you have to decide then after 2023 on a 5th-year option for him? So that you'd have to make a lot of decisions about the future of your franchise without having any information, because he's not playing. He wouldn't be playing for you this year, I don't think.
Right, but if you were convinced that you could turn him into a good quarterback, you pick up the option because it's expensive, but it's not going to kill you. But then my question with, like, Trey Lance and Jordan Love is this: what does their second contract look like? Because to your point, there's not enough now to say, I'm going to pay him. So, like, he can't expect to be paid the second contract of a quarterback who stepped in as a high draft pick or a 1st-round draft pick. Yeah. So, like, there's a lot of questions here. But I'm just saying, you're going to there is a potential, to your point about not drafting high, there is a potential that you're going to have to get more creative in how you bring in Kirk's replacement.
Well, so here's a question. I think it would still cost a 1st-round pick to get Trey Lance from the Niners.
Very possible. I do agree with that.
I don't think his stock is, because wouldn't they just keep him otherwise? All right.
Right. Well, no, I'm saying him being paid. So yes, I agree with what you just said.
But if it's going to cost you a 1st-round pick to trade for Trey Lance, and you only have 1 pick in the first, 2 rounds, it's the 24th, technically 23rd pick, because the Dolphins don't have a pick. Would you rather spend that 24th pick on 2 years of Trey Lance or 3 years of Trey Lance, one of them being a backup to Kirk, and then maybe you have to pay him a lot of money? Or would you rather just draft a quarterback? Now, on the flip side of that, Bryce Young's not falling. C.J. Stroud's not falling. Will Levis isn't falling. I could see a world in which Anthony Richardson, the Florida quarterback, who, again, is one of the most, like, measurably one of the most talented athletic quarterbacks, but he has the accuracy of, like, a blind sprinkler. I've watched a few Florida games, read enough scouting reports. He has terrible accuracy. I could see that costing him draft stock and falling.
Sure.
Would you rather take let's say, Anthony Richardson falls and he's a project. I would almost rather just draft him because I have him longer. I can sit him for sure in 2023, and then I get him for 4 more years after that, and he's going to be a lot cheaper because he would be drafted like 20 slots lower than Trey Lance was a couple years ago if I have to give up a first-round pick for a quarterback. And, of course, in either of those scenarios, those guys don't help you win in 2023. And so now you're back to, okay, well, how do you fill all these roster holes that you have to deal with now only 3 draft picks, a third, a fourth, a fifth, and only $44 million in cap space, which we created on Purple Daily today. That's the hardest part about
That's
this.
why we're paid millions.
Yeah.
To make these decisions.
Because if you legitimately want to solidify a quarterback plan for the future, it's going to cost you a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Or you could keep taking flyers in the 3rd, 4th round. I'm fine with that too. But those guys are, there's like a 1 in 10 chance those guys turn out. Kellen Mond. There's a hell of a lot more Kellen Monds and Nick Mullins than there are Brock Purdy's and Kirk Cousins out there.
You do this. Do you basically say the plan right now is no matter how we do in 2024, we're going to have to replace Kirk eventually. Do we basically pay the piper or the price of what it's going to take to move up as high as possible in that draft?
In this draft or in
24? Next draft. Yeah, because you've got the collateral to move. Like now it would be tough because you're so strapped with only 4 draft picks. But in 2024, I think you basically got most of your draft class, if not the whole thing, and some other picks from teams. So do you then say, okay, it's going to cost us a ton, but we're going to identify the quarterback that we like the most from that draft and go up at that point in time and just flat out replace Kirk and play a rookie?
Yeah.
Because, we've talked about this, Phil. There is incentive. I don't love playing a first-year quarterback, but the incentive in drafting him in the first place is to get the 5 full years on the cheap.
Yeah, that's the thing. And now you're seeing some of these brilliant offensive-minded coaches can kind of insulate young quarterbacks, and maybe Kevin O'Connell is one of them. Well, Kyle Shanahan is. You can turn Jimmy Garoppolo into a Super Bowl quarterback. You can turn Brock Purdy into a guy that's dominating in the divisional round of the NFC playoffs.
I just thought of one more thing, too, though. Oh, my God, this just hit me like a bolt of lightning.
Reckless speculation.
Thank you. Thank you for hitting me with this thought. What about this one? Justin Herbert getting to a point of frustration, I'm sure. The Chargers, I think, are a mess. Like, I don't think they're well run. Like, they moved after the Rams. They tried to do the cash grab. I don't think that they've got structure. What if Justin Herbert got so frustrated? Because you know what the one thing here is?
It's not happening.
Not happening.
That's happening.
What if you were able to acquire Justin Herbert?
With what capital, though? You got to give up. You have to.
Well, not right now. He's not going to get frustrated yet. I'm saying like after.
No. Well, I mean, I'm not. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm saying, are you going to give up like 3 or 4 first-round picks?
That's what I'm saying.
And pay him $40 million a year.
This is a safe space. I'm throwing things out.
I agree. I would prefer to just find a rookie quarterback that you can call your own, draft, develop. But what if it's a Ponder? What if it's a T-Jack? That's the risk that you take. What if it's a Burrow? What if it's a Purdy? Even he's pretty good. He's not Burrow good.
Quarterback. Yeah, I like that.
I would rather do that than continue this cycle of like either giving up a ton of draft cap. Look what the Broncos did. Oh man, we can't find a quarterback since Peyton Manning left. Yeah. So let's just give up everything for Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And now their franchise is screwed. So now I think Justin Herbert, if you did give up the capital, would be good. But now your roster is depleted and your cap space is depleted. I don't know. I hear you. I feel you. I like the reckless speculation.
I think the most realistic one is probably the 2024 draft and trying to trade a slew to go up.
You're probably right.
And take one.
I think you're probably right. All right, that was a good pecking order. Good Kwesi's to-do list. Hit us up with your thoughts on what you think they should do for a future quarterback plan. To hit us up on Twitter. Hit us up in the SKOR North YouTube comment section. We will be catching up today on Mackey and Judd as well with our friend, the biggest and probably most depressed Vikings fan we know, Randy in Cottage Grove, too. So stick around for that.